morning everybody and welcome to the Isle of Arran. Welcome to the town of Brodick. Another day exploring the Isle of Arran with Rabbies. It's going to be good, it's going to be interesting, it's going to be windy, but we're prepared. So let's get on the bus and let's get going. Okay, so the first location of the day is a set of standing stones here in Arran, which are a bit of a walk away from the bus, but it's worth it. I love coming to see standing stones around Scotland. There are so many of them, and each of them have a different story, and each of them kind of date to different years, but generally Neolithic, 5,000 years ago, and they're just awesome sites to come and visit. So if you imagine something like Stonehenge, right? That's the image you get around the world of the standing stones in the UK, but I think in Scotland our ones are better. Kind of reminds me of the landscape at Culloden. Very flat moor. Yeah, it's cool to see these things up close. There are big stones over there, but there's like lots of like groups of smaller ones as well. My first impression of these things are they're pretty huge. Look at the size. Giant. Okay, so the driver has stopped at a place called Glen Sannox. Has a really awesome looking river running through it and some waterfalls, so it should be interesting to go for a bit of a walk here. You know, it's these glens with the heather and the rusty colour that really is where you can see the autumn colours in Scotland at this time of year. It's so pretty, kind of bright ginger colour, a bit like my beard, all around us. Gingers, greens and purples. It is absolutely beautiful. So I think the weather has scuppered some of the outdoor stuff we had planned to do today. But you know what? Scotland is a funny place. Even on the bad weather days, like you can't judge the weather based on what it's doing at the present time because it never stays like that. So it was raining horrendously this morning, like something awful. We had this wind coming off the sea, but now it's cleared up totally, enough for us to walk out and come and see this glen. Anyway, I think the plans now is we're going to go and see one of the local castles, and also, and I'm really excited about this, always excited about this, we're going to tour a whiskey distillery, the Arran Whisky Distillery, which I've never ever seen before or tried. We are about to go off to the whiskey distillery here on Arran, which is not far away, but first of all, we absolutely needed to see this castle. It's basically an old ruined tower, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Okay, so it is now time for something I have been really excited about all day, the whiskey distillery tour. I love doing whiskey tours. They're always good and informative because every whiskey distillery in Scotland is different from each other. And every single malt is slightly different. I think that is something that is really interesting and also very important to state because on my YouTube channel and on my videos, I get so many questions all the time from people who say to me, Shaun, what is the best Scottish whiskey? I get that type of question all the time. And I always have to answer exactly the same thing. There is no such thing as the best single malt whiskey. Because each of these distilleries that do single malts, they're all unique. They're all different. It doesn't mean the quality is any better or any worse in any of the different distilleries. It's just different. They all serve their own different recipes and different ways of doing it, and they all taste slightly different. Once you get to single malt level whiskey, they're all reasonably good. So it comes down to flavour and taste and preferences. Thank you. I absolutely love doing whiskey distillery tours in Scotland. Each one will tell you their own different ways of doing things, which is really fascinating. They'll show you their equipment and they'll also tell you a little bit about their personal history as a distillery. That is delicious. That was so good. Arran water, the water of life here in Scotland, is single malt whiskey. It runs in our veins here, and I thoroughly enjoyed learning about the Isle of Arran distillery and the whiskey and their process. It was really good. So that was the end of our first full day tour of the Isle of Arran. We woke up the next morning ready to get the ferry back to the Scottish mainland. Thank you, cheers. So our tour is coming to an end today. It's been a great couple of days here in the Scottish Highlands. We got the ferry this morning over from the Isle of Arran to the mainland, the Mull of Kintyre, and we have now driven along Loch Fyne to a town called Inveraray. One interesting story Doug, the driver, was telling us on the way over was the fact that Highland cows, I did not know this, you'll see the field there behind me, here in front of Inveraray Castle, you'll see a lot of black Highland cows. I always thought the majority of Highland cows were ginger, because that's what we've always known. Most Highland cows you will see around the Scottish Highlands are in fact ginger. That is the famous image of a Highland cow, but apparently hundreds of years ago the Highland cows were actually mostly black in colour. And in the days of Rob Roy McGregor, the Highland cattle raiding and all that between the clans that was going on, and some of the clans used to get money from other clans to protect their cattle, and it was called a mail, and because the cows at the time were all black, and that's why we have the saying today, black mail. It's based on the Scottish Highland clans and the Highland cows, which were all black at the time, the Highland coos. I love Highland cows, they're awesome animals. You see them all about the Scottish Highlands. Whenever I get a chance, I stop and take a photo because they are beautiful and just a symbol of the Scottish Highlands. But I did not know that the majority of them, back in the original days of cow herding here in the Scottish Highlands, that they were mostly black. It was the Victorians who brought the ginger hair gene in, so there you go. Learn something new on these tours all the time, and that's what this tour has been about for me. Drive back to Edinburgh will take about 3 hours from here, but I think we're going to get a little coffee inside Inveraray Castle before we head off. Alright guys, well, we're back home in Edinburgh after that amazing 3-day tour with Rabbies. Just a couple of words to conclude. I'm pretty knackered now. That was a lot of information to take in. These trips are full on and they really give you a big, broad, total picture of Scotland. Yes, the tour was to Arran, but of course to get to Arran and to come home again, there's lots of land in between. And the guides on the buses are so knowledgeable, they tell you about absolutely everything, whether that is related to the place you're going or places you just come in passing. And even in Edinburgh, as we left the city and came back into the city, our driver had a load of facts for us. And I think that's probably the big takeaway for this trip for me,
is just how many stories the drivers had to tell us. So what I would say is, yes, this tour is amazing for anybody coming to Scotland and wants to get an idea of what Scotland is. I learned a lot on this tour that I had no idea about. It was the stories that came out from the driver. He was just an absolute encyclopedia of Scottish knowledge and told the stories in a really fun and engaging way. You know, I like to tell stories on this vlog. That's really what this is about for me. But those guys know their stuff in Scotland, and it is thoroughly impressive to watch. So yeah, highly recommend the tours. They were absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Great buses, great tour guides, and you know what? It's just been a pleasure working with these guys. So go and check out the link down below if you're interested in a Rabbies tour. I highly recommend going to Arran. I had never been to Arran before. It was a first for me, and I'm blown away by just how amazing it was. So definitely go and check the link out. There will be a discount code for you guys, especially if you watch this channel and you want to go on one of those Rabbies tours. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for watching this series. It has been a pleasure, and I hope you have a good night, morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are in the world. Take care.